Hi, everyone. It's Allison. Oh, see, my voice is still not back. 5 weeks. 5 weeks. Yesterday, Jen from, sorry, I always do this now with Jen and her sister, Lisa from Lisa Supportive Tarot. She called this the death cold, and she is correct. I am on a series of inhalers now for this cold. It's just never ending. And I think it's gone. And I go through 5 or 6 hours of my day being like, I feel great. And then I have a massive coughing fit that nearly blows my head off. So, tis the season, and we'll see how my voice does throughout this video after that rather unattractive start. But I don't have a ton of time, so I'm not going to go back and redo it. So, today is unlikely deck number 2. Yesterday, I did an Oracle deck unboxing, and I talked about why that was an unlikely purchase for me because although the artwork is gorgeous, I haven't been getting along as well with Oracle decks, with a few exceptions I talked about. Here's one, Sacred Creators, Oracle, and Soul Cards, of course, yesterday. And you can hear my rambles about Oracle decks. Nothing's really changed. I actually did, when I first did Ethany's Challenge 2 years ago, I did a video about how I was not really getting along with Oracle decks, and there's been some progress, but not a ton. And at the same time, I ordered another deck that was unlikely for me to get. But it's not an Oracle deck, it's a tarot deck. And the reason that I was unlikely to get it is small. And it is the Tarot of Trees by Dana O'Driscoll. And I've been looking at and thinking about this tarot deck, I think since it came out. This is the 3rd edition. Does it say on here? Anyway, I think it says on her Etsy site that this is the 3rd edition. And I've been thinking about it since the 1st edition first came out. And the reason I've held off for so long is that I just don't like little decks. I have the Centennial Rider Waite in a tin, the Morgan Greer in a tin, the Mesquite Tarot. I never use any of them. And I have the Mesquite Tarot and the Snog Mary Avoid extended tarot tag. That's the tarot I'm divorcing because it just does not want to talk to me. It's like clammed up real good. But the others, they're decks I love in their full form, and I use them all the time. And even when I'm traveling, I'm like, oh well, I won't take a big deck, I'll just take my little deck. But I'm like, I don't know. I'll probably rehome the Morgan Greer because I have a big copy of that and I do love it. I'm going to keep the Centennial Rider Waite in a tin, just because I think it's classic. It's good to have. I don't know. I'm not ready to let go of that one, even though I have a billion Rider Waite Smith decks. The only one that really speaks to me in its small form, and again, I have the big and small version of this one, but it's the Halloween tarot. Will there ever come a video where I don't talk about Kipling West's wonderful Halloween tarot? I'm going to leave it till Halloween time to actually take this deck out and talk about it. But because it's so cute, and because it's just because it's cute, and again, I have the full-size version of this. I may get another full-size version and trim it. I haven't decided. It looks pretty nice trimmed. But this one, like the tin is so cute with the little guy, and then look at the ends. It just really works for me. But it might just be because I like, oh well, do you have a postage stamp version of this deck? I'll buy it. I love this deck so much. So that works for me. But I was like, oh, Tarot of Trees. Oh, how I wish you were bigger. And I still kind of wish it was bigger because the art is so great. But as I said yesterday, the thing that drew me to the Dreamer's Journey Tarot is the fact that it's really sorry, I'm looking at it like you can see it. It's got a ton of trees. The artist is called, her website is Soul Trees, soul/trees.com. Trees really influence her art. I'd say that at least a third of those cards are tree art. And I just have this real affinity for trees. I talked yesterday about how I would name the trees in my backyard and they were my friends. And, that maybe says more about my childhood than anything else. But that's just my happy place, is being around trees, and just lay my hand on a tree and it feels like it calms me down. And maybe that sounds crazy. I love to have my back against a tree while I'm meditating. So I thought and thought and thought and thought and thought and put it off and put it off and put it off. And finally I was like, I'm getting it. I'm getting the tarot of trees. And I do love it. I do wish it was bigger, as I wish everything was bigger. I mean, come on. These images are so gorgeous. I've already shuffled it. I will probably edge this one. Um, I still haven't edged anything, but I think it would look really good because it's so little. I feel like the whites make it look maybe small, like it's not as cohesive. Um, so I would like to edge it. And everything here is tree based, and people have seen this deck before. Kelly at Truth and Story did as she always does, these really great elaborate walkthroughs of every card, and I don't really do that. I just don't do that. But if you know the Rider-Waite-Smith, then I just think these illustrations are just wonderful. The trees are personified. I really think this Nine of Cups is interesting because you can see a female figure in there, in the body of the tree and the roots, and just this sort of abundant grasping of the cups. The Queen of Wands still has her cat, which I love. So there are these little indicators in every tree. Oh, this one I think is beautiful. The Four of Pentacles, like it's hoarding resources and spreading itself over smaller trees that need them. You know, just like in nature, if there's a really dense tree canopy, then other things can't grow. So it's really thoughtful. I mean, can we just talk about this adorable Fool card? I love this deck. I don't think the size is going to be an impediment to me just because I love it. I feel like it's going to be another Halloween tarot for me in terms of how much I love it. The Death card. It's probably pretty. It's obvious, but it is. I love the cloudy, stormy skies, and yet the rising sun just over the tree line there. So some depth there. The Hermit gets his little lamp. And also like old and wise and gnarled and a big thick round tree, which shows its length. Now this I adore. The Strength card, just because of where I happen to live on the Canadian Shield, which is, you know, the home of the Boreal Forest. If you spend any time in that area, which I have, and which I do spend a lot of time there, you'll see that there are trees that grow on cliff faces. And my husband actually did some work when he was a student in cliff face ecology. And this unbelievable tenacity of these trees growing where it seems like they have no business growing. They're long root systems that suck up water from unbelievable places. This is the side of a cliff. And the fact that, I mean, again, because they're on the Great Lakes, they can be battered by these terrible storms, and each year they hang on. None of it makes any logical sense. I mean, I'm not an ecologist. I'm sure it does if you're an ecologist, but it just seems like a strange place for a tree to plant its roots and grow, but it can. And so because of the personal geography of where I am and where I love to be, this really speaks to me. And I also, Strength card's one of my favorite cards in the whole tarot. They're lovers intertwining their little branches, and they make a little heart between them, and I just think it's adorbs. The Hierophant, I feel like he's like talking to all the little shoots and grasses, and the swirls are mimicked underneath him, like he's teaching them the lessons of the swirls. Oh, sorry, I said I wasn't going to show them all, and here I am talking about every one. Oh, this is neat. The Four of Swords. You know, it's just sort of supporting them and resting on them, you know, taking that time. I also love how, I should have said this earlier, that each particular suit is a season. I love that because I've talked about this before too. I love it when all the different seasons are expressed. That's fine. The King of Pentacles, like, isn't he gorgeous? Oh goodness, I'm going to talk about one little issue I do have with the deck, although I'm confident that it will be resolved. I thought it was only with one card, but it's actually with more than one. Oh, the Page of Wands. Aw, I don't know. I love it. I also have a thing for butterflies because I got married. Well, I've lots of sort of butterfly things in my life, but I got married at a butterfly conservatory. 10 of Wands, little sprout. Now 10 of Swords. I don't know about the blood. I mean, I guess they're all being personified, so I don't know why this one strikes me so much. As being it just sort of strikes me as standing out from the rest of the deck. But I mean, again, I love this deck. I don't mind it, but I think maybe it could have done, because the roots, it's completely uprooted, right? I think it could have done without the blood. Maybe it's just too human. Maybe, I don't know. Let's see. The 6 of Pentacles. I think that's pretty cute. Let's just see what else I can show you. Oh, and 3 of Swords also is very specific to Rider-Waite-Smith. Blood again, and like the literal heart and swords. And I feel like that could have been just a bit more tree-ish. But these are tiny, tiny quibbles in a deck that I just already adore. The Page of Pentacles, and there's beautiful designs in the snow. And look at that sky. And maybe it speaks to me again so much because it's a winter scene, and I love it when artists do include the winter time in their deck. Oh, we should look at the Magician, I guess, because everybody loves that card. So just the dangling of the different elements, suits off of the card. The High Priestess is the box image. Yeah, it is. So I had a little brain fart there. Beautiful. And you can see like the columns are represented, the moon is represented, the pomegranates are represented. It's very faithful. The Sun. No naked baby on my sun card. Moon. Gorgeous. What do people like to see? Oh, the Devil. And that's really interesting, I think, because it looks like the bird is chained, but it's not. It's the bird is sitting there, a raven or crow, perhaps, I guess, but the tree is chained, which I find really interesting. Oh, the Empress. I mean, that's perfect. Perfect. Maybe that's enough. Oh, there's an extra card. Regeneration. Which is a lovely idea for an extra card. Sort of moving beyond the world. And oh, look at that 5 of Cups. That is really interesting. And again, not a choice of blood there, which I think is interesting. It's a choice of water. But clearly the water's coming from the tree, and it's feeling that loss. And although it's still got 2 in its hand, and it's maybe not paying attention, so clever. First, I wish I had visual art skills, and I guess maybe that's really the thing holding me back. I'd love to be a visual artist, and I mean, it's my fault. I've never really tried, like taken art lessons, but I should, because I so admire people who have these visions and that can really bring them to light. The World is, again, literal, but I mean, I love that it's an ecological message. This is the month of Earth Day, which is also my birthday. I love having an Earth Day birthday. Oh, I love... Guys. Sorry. There's another dog on the planet that they feel shouldn't exist, I guess. Guys, there you go. I like that Knight of Cups. It's just that sort of emotion, knight in shining armor. I don't know. I really dig it. The movement of the cards is so interesting. Yeah. Oh, let's look at the 7 of Cups. His dreams are all little kinds of trees. I think it's so great. Now, the only issue, and again, I'm confident that this can be addressed, but I'm going to ask for 2 replacement cards, and this may not show up. Oh, shush, 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 Max. Oh, yeah, can you see there? There's something that's happened to every time. When will I learn this is backwards? Oh, there. There's this problem with them. Max, you're a good boy. You guarded the house. But I'm doing a video. Yeah, I know. There's this problem with the lamination and it's hard to angle, but can you see just down the side there? It looks like it just like almost like wax got dribbled on it, and it doesn't even feel, well, I guess I can feel the ridge a little bit there, but I do find it a bit distracting, and I'm sure it's just a problem that she can remedy by sending another card. And the same thing happened to the Five of Wands, and this is actually the first one that I noticed. You can see it actually quite clearly on this one, starting down there. Oh, it's really hard to do. As you can see, they're not matte. But I think it's probably because I've got a light right there. They aren't as shiny as this looks, I don't think. Or I don't love shiny cards, and this doesn't bother me. But there's the little issue right there. But when I write to her, again, this is an Etsy deck, and I'm just going to say how much I love the deck and just how I'd really love to have those cards replaced, just because I feel like I'm going to use it a lot, especially with summer coming. I love this time of year because, as you know, I have canines. And one of my favorite things is that I took them on a 2-hour hike this morning. Maybe that's why my cough is acting up. And I just took them for another walk now in a different area down by a river. And every single day, the trees are a little bit different. The buds are a little more out. Different colors are working their way back in. And the kind of way that you wouldn't notice if you weren't out on these places every day and looking for it specifically. So I'm really moved to use it right away. So I'm very excited. I think it'll go very well with my new Oracle, and I will link that video in the comments below in case you're interested in seeing me talk about Oracle decks in general for a bit, and then talk about my feelings about that deck, not really having used it yet. And then maybe I'll come on and update and talk about how it's been for me and how much I've been enjoying it. But man, any other tree lovers out there? Anybody who feels that like deep affinity? I mean, I guess I'm sure there are, but I don't know. When I was a kid, I always felt like such a weirdo for just being so connected. And I remember once we had to cut down a tree in my yard, and I just cried and cried and cried and cried and cried. Like I was inconsolable. And I feel like I still am when I see trees cut down, and sometimes for very good reasons, you know, tree disease, or they're so old and they're posing a danger. I mean, I'm not totally impractical, but yeah. So that's my really exciting update with tree decks that I never thought I would get. Oracle cards that I never thought I would get. I think actually I put this lid on backwards yesterday. Yeah, that's better. The Dreamer's Journey Oracle, which has gorgeous tree cards in it, so I'll link that below. And then this adorable and really ingenious Tarot of Trees that I already just have fallen completely in love with. Yay! So I hope you enjoyed this video, and that maybe you'll check out these decks if they interest you, and have a great day.